Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. I'm Creative Katie. Today I'm going to show you yet one more way to use those napkins, and you guessed it, we're going to be going in circles. So this napkin is called Blooming Garden, and I love the rich colors of it, but it's a little bit difficult to figure out how to use it. I could be just an Insta background, and I'm going to use it in a background, but I thought, you know what? I'm going to cut out shapes from it. Now, I've got a circle template there that I've cut out of tagboard, but I really like using lids. I collect lids of different sizes instead of showing them in the recycle bin. Or you could use a template like this one from Fiskars. I'm just going to use the lid. So I'm positioning it on the napkin and going to trace. Now I try tracing with my white charcoal pencil, and that doesn't really show. I use a regular pencil, and while it shows, once I remove this, I really would struggle to see where that line is. I didn't want to use a pen because I didn't want to color it or leak. And then it dawns on me, just flip the napkin over. Now here I've kept on the plies, so now I can trace it. And really I traced it with a pencil, but I could have traced it with a pen. You don't want to do anything that's going to rip the napkin, but they're pretty sturdy. I managed well enough with just the pencil, and I'm just tracing them. Now by flipping it over, you don't really get to see what you're actually capturing in each circle, but I kind of embrace that randomness of it. So once everything was traced out on the full napkin, I'm just simply cutting out the circles one by one and then revealing what I have. Now my goal was to use these circles as collage in a background. So now I wanted the rest of the background done, and I decided to use the brayering technique. So here I am brayering on, I believe it's Naples yellow, one of my favorite colors. It's very fall-ish color, and I'm going horizontally and vertically with my Ranger brayer, which I love for doing pages. I've captured the colors that are in the napkin. Now I want some orange because there's orange in the napkin, but the orange that I have, I realize is a little too bright. And then I realized I just saw something on Instagram where the lady took the color and the complementary, what was across the wheel, and mixed a little bit of that in there, in this case blue, with it, and that dulled it down and gave it those muted, fallish colors. Now this orange now that you see really matches the oranges that are in the napkin, and that's what I'm trying to get. So remember this. If you mix a little bit of the complementary color with a color, you're going to dull it down and get those rich fall colors if you're doing fall themed things or love the muted color schemes better. So again, I'm just adding a little bit here. I'm doing light blue permanent with my orange from Artist Loft. And it's giving me exactly those muted fall colors. Now I've got kind of a glob at the top there, but you know what? We're going to solve that problem in the next step. And again, I'm going vertically and horizontally. I just want to get background colors that go with the napkin circles that I'm going to collage on there. Now here I'm going to knock this back a little bit. I don't want the background too bright, so I'm just taking some white paint and I'm just brayering that on. Now you can target areas like where you get those blotches that you really don't like. See, I just kind of neutralize that right there. And this just makes this a little softer, a little more muted, so it's not going to compete with the circle collage elements that I cut from the napkin. And I'm happy with that. I'm placing it playing around with the placements, and right about now I take a picture of where those placements are so I remember later when it comes down to actually gluing these down. I'm thinking the background is a little too plain, so I want to add some color. So I take alizarin crimson, and I want to get more of that rich burgundy color. And I know if I add just a little bit of black to it, and here I add way too much, so I need to mix it up. I'm going to get that burgundy color, that rich burgundy color. And I'm going to use some of my DIY foam stamps. I will link the video where I make these. I highly recommend making these mark makers. They're so nice to use. And I chose the circle one because, again, we have those other circles that I've cut from the napkin, and I just wanted to play that up. So here I'm just stamping it in, and it's that rich burgundy color. I clean off my stamp. Now I'm adding some stars in the same color, and I want small scale. I don't want anything too big. This is just a stamp that I had picked up at the thrift store, but I love the little stars. Small motif stamps are really critical. You can use them so much. Then I grabbed a script stamp, and I'm using black acrylic paint here and just stamping some of that. The black is kind of grunging it up. There's black in the napkin. So I haven't deviated from the colors of the napkin. I've used that as my guidance, that's what I'm sticking with the color scheme they've given me. And I love this background. Now you could forget the circles right now and just continue on and do your own thing, but I'm determined to try to use these circles, these napkin collage circles on here. So I'm looking at my picture, trying to do that. Now's the time to take off those excess plies, and those circles that from the excess plies, I'm saving those. I'm going to try to use those in some upcoming video. They're just too perfect. I don't know where that's going to lead or what it's going to do, but you know what? Live and learn. And now I'm just using fluid matte medium and gluing them on. Now there's some dark things in there or in the background, and I thought maybe it's going to show through the napkin when I collaged it down. It really didn't, because there's so much in that napkin. And one thing that I find when you glue the napkin down with the fluid matte medium, it gets brighter. So once that's completely dry, I cut off the excess by flipping it over, and I'm ready to proceed with what comes next. Now I had no idea where this was going beyond this point. So here I decided I'm going to edge my page by shading around the outside edge with black acrylic paint and my shading technique. This frames the page, and then I am also going to shade around each of the napkin circles. Now I've put a coat of the fluid matte medium on top, and that's turned the napkin into a non-porous surface, and that allows me to colorize it, paint over top of it without it wicking in. If it was just raw napkin, it would just kind of wick in and really maybe not give you what you would like. Now you can see as I do this, you can see the ones I've done and I've not. It really is making those circles pop, those colors be brighter, kind of turning this into a focal point, which I really wasn't sure that I wanted this to be a focal point. It's always been in my mind that this was going to be part of the background. But I really like how it just made it pop. It pushed the background back into the background and made the circles stand out all the more. Then I decided gold would look good on here. I'm going to splatter this with gold and let it dry. And at this point, I walked away, went on to doing something else, and just kind of thought about where I might want to go with this. And here's a close-up of this background. Now, I could have just put a sentiment on here and called it done. But I grabbed my magazine folder and I grabbed a bunch of girls out of there. And I'm just auditioning them on the page to see what does it look like. That, and I'm putting it on, taking it off, trying it in, in each of the different orientations. Oh, that looks good, the dry thing. Which way do I like it? Which one do I like best? And I really like, well, it's between this one and this one. But I really like the black and white. It lets the background colors shine through. I like the expression on her face. I grabbed my sentiment pack called Courage. This was my word of the year for 2023. And when I print them off, I just keep them in these plastic envelopes, and allows me to just kind of flip through them if I was looking for a particular theme and audition them on the page. I kind of like the black on here with the white letters. Seems to go really well with the magazine clip that I have. And I could put 3 words on there. Something that kind of goes with what her expression or the mood of it is. And then I have this one, What If Things Go Right? And I like the font, and I really thought it went well with the expression on her face, so I decided to go with that one. I use the X-Acto knife to cut out the little bits, the internal bits that I need in magazine pictures. I just find that easier than scissors, but you do what works best for you. And now I'm just trying to finalize where I want her to go. Still undecided about the sentiments. I decided to bubble cut around this, removing a lot of that excess white. I didn't want the sentiment to compete with the circles and the girl themselves. I really liked doing this, cutting out those circles out of the napkins, and I'm going to do something similar with another napkin. I think there's a lot of possibilities doing that, but whether you cut it out of circles or hexagons or diamonds or whatever shape. I'm gluing the girl down with fluid matte medium, putting a coat underneath and on top to turn it into a non-porous surface. And then I'm going to eventually glue down that sentiment when I finally decide about where I want it to go. I like how those circles, they're part of the background. They provide a great backdrop for my focal image and for my sentiments. Now I'm shading around the girl, and you'll see how shading with the black on there, a little bit on top, really makes her stand out against the background. Just defines the outline of that magazine clipping. But it's really important that you either put a coat of clear gesso on there or matte medium so you turn it into a non-porous surface. Otherwise, it just soaks into the paper and discolors the magazine paper. I'm just adding a little bit more definition to the face, to the neck, because I want it to stand out. I also come in and I paint her lips the color of burgundy to go with the background just a little bit more, but lost that footage. Shading around the sentiment, I wanted it to stand out a little more, but right now the whiteness of it was kind of bothering me. So I just grabbed some, at first, unbleached titanium, and then I grabbed the Naples yellow and just gave it a slight wash just to take the edge off the white. This just knocks it back. And then once that was dry, I got out my Posca pen in black and just darkened the letters because I had put that paint on it, and when it's a more opaque paint, it just dulls it down. And I wanted the black letters to stand out a little bit more. So when you are doing an art journal page and you want to try something else, instead of thinking, oh, it's not going to work or what could go wrong, think about what if things go right? What if this works out? Then I have something new, a new technique, a new way of using my napkins. And that's what I discovered with this one. I love the addition of the circles. I'm going to try that again because it did go right. I did have my doubts. I had my moments of doubt during the creation of this page. But you just keep moving forward. And even if it doesn't work out, it's just paper and paint. Thank you so much for joining me on this creative journey. I hope you give circles from napkins a try. Until next time, go get creative.